Hello everyone, my name is Abby Lindberg and today my presentation is on the influence of movies, and my main focus was looking at the correlation of people watching movies and their loss of morals over time, and this next slide will give you a bit more insight on that. So I was looking mainly at children and their loss of morals as they're watching movies and to see if there was a correlation there. Also, I was looking at surveys that had to do with sexual materials in movies and their correlation with viewers' morals. And so there's a couple different surveys on children and children watching movies, as well as movie watchers in general and how often they watch movies, and people's morals related to those movies with sexual content. So moving on to the first slide, this question was my first question, and it was, children are exposed to many influences in their daily lives. What kind of influence do movies have on children? The responses could be very positive, neutral, negative, or very negative. So I wasn't really surprised at these results, seeing that mainly there was a negative result on children watching movies, and I feel like that is pretty normal all over the board. Children are exposed to so much when they're watching movies, and now with social media especially, seeing things they're just exposed to more. The thing that I did find interesting though was that this survey was taken in 1990, and the result is still very negative. And back in 1990, there wasn't social media. You weren't looking at iPhones as children or looking at movies that we have now. I feel like back then the types of sexual content in movies was a lot less and it was shown a lot less. And so seeing that there still was a negative impact and influence on children from watching movies, that was pretty interesting to me, just to see that that was from the 90s. Moving on to my next slide. My next question was, sexual materials led to a breakdown of morals. And as you can see, there was an astounding yes with 616 people. The no was still valid to see that people did not have a breakdown of morals, but I mean, double of the people did have a breakdown of morals. So that survey was taken in 1989. This question I did look at over a 5-year time span, and I did just want to see if that changed over time or if it kind of was consistent. And so seeing this result was a yes, I was interested to keep looking at this specific survey question just to see if the results changed throughout the years or if there still was a breakdown of morals from looking at sexual materials in general. So this wasn't even necessarily related to movies. I feel like people do see a lot of sexual materials in movies, but as I said from question 1, this survey was taken in the 80s and the 90s. So that just shows that it was still a big problem with the breakdown of morals. I feel like if I were to have looked at a survey from now, it still would have been really, really high just because I feel like there's more sexual materials that are more easily accessible. So looking at the next question, this one was from 1990, and it was the same question, which was sexual materials lead to a breakdown of morals, and still there was most people saying that yes, they did see that. The no is about the same, so I was interested to see if the results would change, and they did not. So if we even take a look at the next year, which was 1991, there was even more people who took the survey, and the results were still about half people of the yes answers did say no. So looking at question 5, which was the exact same question, you can still see 671 people said yes, there was a breakdown of morals when they looked at sexual materials, and about half of that, with 318, said no. So going back to the first of this series of question, you can just see about half said no. So there still was a double amount of people that said yes. Yeah, that one was in 1993, and then this same question, 1994. The no answers did go up a little bit. It was a little bit less than half said no, but still it was an overall yes to seeing that sexual materials did lead to a breakdown in morals. The next question that I looked at, this survey was taken in 2000, and it was, in the past 30 days, how often have you visited a website for television or movies? So this one did surprise me, actually. I was thinking that it would have been at least 1 to 2 times, maybe even 3 to 5 times being the most. But it turns out 426 people said that they never looked at a website for television or movies. And this could just be because it was in 2000 and it wasn't as popular as it is now. I feel like with people having Hulu and Netflix and just TVs in general, a lot of people don't visit necessarily a website to look at television or movies. So even back in 2000, I feel like it wasn't the most popular thing to do. People were watching DVDs on their TVs. So this one, it kind of surprised me, but the more I dug into it and kind of looked at the year it was taken and then the type of question and how they asked it with the looking on a website, I feel like it didn't surprise me as much anymore. So the 426 saying never was the majority. There still was a lot of people that, it was about 250, did say that they did go on a website for television or movies, but overall it was a no. So that question did surprise me, but like I said, the more I looked into it, it made more sense. Looking at question 8, that is the same question as before. This survey was in 2002, and it is going up of how many times they have looked at television or movies on a website. So I feel like that is just television and movies gaining more of a popularity online instead of just watching DVDs. So the gap is closing a little bit, but it is not as much as I feel like it would have been today. And the next question is the same. In the past 30 days, how often have you visited a website for television or movies? And it kind of did go back down again. You see, it looks a little bit more like the 2000 survey, but it is going up a little bit of people going online for television or movies. And then this is just my discussion page. So my overall results I found were that media uses does affect children negatively, and that result did not surprise me. It was pretty straightforward and it did make sense to me, so I wasn't really surprised in that aspect. The information given to children is often harmful, and I feel like, especially in this day and age, we need to be more cautious of how accessible information is to children because you can find anything online, especially now, and looking at these surveys, it does lead to a breakdown in morals later in life. So even if it is not a breakdown in morals for children directly, it does lead to that. And watching the sexual materials, which are easily accessible, will lead to that breakdown in morals.